Alright, so this week we were looking at back attacks and back escapes. So in the last video, or the first class of this week, we were looking at our back attacks, we were looking at our rear naked choke, our finishing mechanics, getting under the guy's chin, and our hand fighting from our underhook side position in the back. Again, the back is definitely the top of the kind of hierarchy of positions in Jiu-Jitsu. All my kind of opponents, abilities to attack me or defend himself kind of face the opposite direction if I'm behind him. So that's why you see the rear naked chokes like the #1 choke in no-gi jiu-jitsu at the tournaments. You see it has the highest percentage of finishing. Same with MMA, it's like the most used sub of MMA in terms of finishes. So obviously it's a bad position for us to be on defending, which is what we're going to look at today, but there's still answers to the situation. We're going to look at an escape from both sides. So the underhook side, so when my opponent is on my back, so he comes sideways and brings me to the side where he's under my shoulder and we follow that hit. And also the opposite, where he's over my shoulder and we fall to this side. We're going to have a different escape in both scenarios, where he's over my shoulder and under my shoulder. A couple general things about position. First thing is I keep my chin nice and tight and tucked the whole time, and I'm usually going to have my hands somewhat fighting his hands, or at least placed on his hands. I don't really, some rules are obviously made to be broken, but I don't really want to be fucking around trying to peel his legs the whole time if I'm like not paying attention with the hands, because he's always going to be looking for any opportunity if my chin's up or my hands aren't defending my neck to start putting this choke on and start trying to get a strong finish on me. Alright, so this is where we were last session, and in the last video my opponent was here. He was doing the kind of straight jacket system to start isolating my hands, and this kind of stuff, get my foot and start going for the choke. So from here, our main goal for both our back escapes, regardless of sides, is I want to get my back on the mat. If Andy's like not controlling me at all, I'm able to put my back on the mat. The guy can't really be on my back. He's kind of off to my side. He's going to be forced often. The guy will be forced to attempt to come up to the mount position. And if we expect this, keep coming up, we can try and immediately start escaping and getting our legs back in front of us to some degree. So my goal is if I get my back to the mat, he just can't be on my back. Now how I get my back to the mat is going to be different from both sides. One side I'm going to be using my hips, rotating my hips out to the mat to help facilitate getting my back to the mat, and on the other side I'm going to be getting my shoulders to the mat first to help facilitate getting my back to the mat. So again, that's our kind of like overall goal, is if I get my back to the mat, my opponent's going to have to like relinquish the back position and probably attempt to come back to mount. So again, my opponent tilts me to this hip. I'm keeping my chin tucked just in case he starts trying to fight a choke, and I'm going to be holding the choking hands here. Can hold this hand, but again, don't focus both your efforts on the top hand, because again, it's his choking arm I'm actually worried about. This arm is kind of dangerous. He could still try to choke me here, but it's not going to be as bad. So again, I want to have some amount of something on the top hand, usually bringing my hand through like it's a little paw of an animal and pulling down, and then this hand can just C-post in the inside. Here it's going to be very difficult to rotate the top half of my body to put my shoulders on the mat because he's under my armpit. I try to turn it because his head's below me and his shoulders is underneath my shoulder. It's very difficult to turn. So instead, in this position, I'm going to be looking to strip the hooks first and get my hip to the mat. Often if the guy's kind of got a looser position here, I can extend my leg, bringing it back. If it's like kind of wide, usually I don't want my feet to be like dead, just straight out either. I kind of get my feet flat on the mat or to the side so they're active. I can straighten my foot, bringing it back in towards us, and then that can slip his bottom hook. And then I can step beside it. So if he tries to reinsert this hook now, I can jam up his foot. From here now I can do like a forward shrimp motion where I'm using my foot on the mat to pull my hips out to start putting my butt on the mat. And see how this is starting to already put that situation where I can start putting my back on the mat, my lower back's kind of hitting the mat, and my opponent's going to feel like he's starting to lose this position. I'll show it one more time. We'll just scoot this way, just slightly, just to make sure we're all in frame. Perfect. So again, I'm here. My opponent pulls me to the underhook side, staying nice and defensive, pulling down on the hand, C-cupping in here, keeping my chin tucked. He's got his feet together like this. I can straighten my leg and I pull it back. If I just straighten my leg to here, he's going to have this hook because he's going to be driving his heeling. So I straighten and bring my leg back towards my other leg or into the middle. Then I can bring my knee and step over and trap his ankle in against my foot here. Now from here, I want my foot loaded up. If my foot's far away like this, again, it's easy for him to slip that hook. And also it's difficult to get any power to pull my hip through. So step nice and close, so I'm trapping. Now I can pull my hip out here and start putting my hips on the mat. As soon as I get here, if my opponent did nothing,
he was like really like, you mean more inexperienced hands than jiu-jitsu, I could just start hitting away and I could just force it turn into and come up on top. Now very likely for a jiu-jitsu scenario is that as soon as the guy realizes he's losing this back position, he'll probably start to try and come to mount. So same thing, I'm controlling the hands, I got my feet tight, I'm kicking this leg straight towards my other leg, pulling my knee back and stepping through. Now I pull my hips through and put them on the mat. As soon as I get here like this, I'm not really worried about a choke anymore. What I'm worried about is that if I don't do anything here and Andy just starts to come on top, he's just going to step and come to mount. Which again is better than my opponent being on my back, but ideally I'll escape back to a position where I can attack with my own legs, like open guard or closed guard. So again, if I was on his back, he was on my backside, I'm here, I strip, I step through, I come here. If the guy's good, I know he's going to want to come on top, so as he comes on top, my hands are coming a little bit, start to push on his knee. And push his knee in between my legs. So as I push his knee in between my legs, I'm going to use my foot on the mat to hip escape. So if he keeps coming out, I hip escape and turn. Often that means now when he puts his knee on the mat or keeps driving through, I'm in this like half guard position. We would call this half guard, but it's also like kind of the end of our, if you watch our mount escapes, this is like the halfway point of our elbow escape from mount. So I could just push on his other knee, pull my knee to my chest, circle, and now I'm back in a closed guard where I can start attacking my opponent. I'll show that whole thing one more time, a bit quicker. So again, I'm here. He tilts me, I control, I straighten, my knee comes on the inside, I step through. As my opponent starts to come up, I push his knee to the mat, hip escape, and turn my hips and my knees back to point. So my knees are probably pointing out this way because I pull my hips out, but as I push my knee in, see I'm going to put my foot in the mat and turn my knees back to point into my opponent. They're pointing away from him, they point back in, and then my knee can just go to his hip, and then I can just push him away, pull my other knee to my chest, and then I'm back into a closed guard position where I can start to attack these chimeras and stuff that we were doing in our very first class for the first video of this course. I'll do it super quick, full speed, just so you just come on top, nice and quick. Here, this, back. So, when my opponent is on the overhook side, we're going to fall the same side towards the camera, but the difference here is that here Andy's arm is coming over my shoulder, while before it was coming under my armpit, and his arm on the far side of the camera was over my shoulder. So even though we're falling the same way here towards the camera, we haven't switched. The important difference is where his arm is, in terms of if he falls to his left hip and his arm's over my shoulder, that's overhook side. If it was under my shoulder, underhook side. Okay, so we're going to do overhook side, where he falls like this. Here, it's a bit more difficult to turn my hips because this is here. So as I try to rotate here, I'm like turning into this grip thing against my neck. But it's a bit easier to rotate my shoulders. Currently, I'm a bit stuck. I don't really want to make a move yet because in this position, like a lot of things in jiu-jitsu, a lot of it's going to be timing based as well. I'm just going to take a strong grip here on his hands. So I'm pulling down similar way, except I'll just go double C grip like this. So I'll insert this like this, and my other hand's going to come in here. I'm just going to wait. In terms of attacking me, if Andy keeps his hands locked the whole time and doesn't do anything, he can't really do nothing. We're going to be a bit of a stalemate. He's going to be looking to attack my neck or threaten maybe arm bars and other attacks from the back. All I'm waiting for is for his hands to disconnect. As soon as he starts letting go to try and either like fight my hand, he might try and let go to grab my hand, or he might start to try and let go to start trying to bring this arm back over the top as if he was going to threaten a choke with this hand. As soon as any of that happens, I'm going to push his hand away. And again, I have my hands like this. They call this a baseball back grip because I'm like swinging like a bat. I'm here and here. As soon as his hands break apart to do anything, I push this away and I'm going to circle it over my head and put my shoulders on the mat first. So before we were putting our hips on the mat, and that was facilitating our shoulders and our back in on the mat. Now our shoulders go on the mat. And then same thing, I'm going to turn my knees now and start to walk backwards. And we see we're in the very similar position where my back's starting to be on the mat and my opponent's gonna have to feel like he's gonna want to come up. And the same thing, I'm gonna push the knee, turn my hips, and ideally catch it in a half guard, continuing my escape into like a closed open guard scenario. So here, I'm gonna scoot just slightly forward as well. Perfect. So again, on the overhook side, I fall to the side, and I'm just getting my hands set up here. If I feel like I can't get my thumb underneath yet, that's fine, I can just pull on top. As soon as his hand's open to do something, I go for this baseball back grip, like this. Double C grips, like I'm a little Lego man, like this. And as soon as that happens, I push this away and I circle it over my head, and I turn to kind of like look towards him more and put my shoulders on the mat. Now that I'm here, I can just bring my feet closer to my butt and start to just walk, like waddle and walk my shoulders back. That'll often break open his legs. Again, if he did nothing here and he just stayed here, I could just rip and come on top. Very unlikely if my opponent's done some amount of training that he's gonna like stay there and do nothing. It makes sense, even like naturally, for a lot of guys to at least fight to stay in a top position. So again, I'm here, I'm just waiting. As soon as that leg goes, I circle, turn my shoulders on that. I'm gonna like kind of look towards him. My feet get loaded up. He still kind of has his legs like pulled in here, but you see as I walk back, I can start to push on the knee, and I'm gonna start getting my back in the mat. Again, the guy's gonna feel like that's not what he wants, so both my hands come to push. I switch my hips so my knees go from pointing away to pointing in towards him, and then I can keep escaping and close my legs. Either in a closed guard position or down the line, a lot of guys might just escape straight to an open guard or even a half guard position as well. One last time. I'm here like this, I come to the side, I'm waiting with my grip as his hand breaks, I circle around my head, turn and put my shoulders on that, I start walking my shoulders backwards, I make sure I'm always pushing his knee in and turning my knees back to face so I can reinsert my open or closed guard. So that'll be us for today. Just 2 techniques from one to the other. Of course, there's going to be a lot of other things that'll help us facilitate escaping the back down the line. You'll learn a lot of some other methods and some other things, stripping the guy's hooks, how to stop the hooks coming in originally. What if my opponent throws like a body triangle and stuff that we showed briefly in the last video? But again, there's only so much we want to show you in one course. If you get those basics down to start and learn those, then when you learn other aspects and other smaller movements, you can add all those together to have a strong escaping base. But again, the main thing to remember and the most important thing is to read which side we're on. We don't want to attempt to do the wrong escape. So again, if we're on the underhook side, we're escaping with our hips first by like straightening this leg and sitting over. If we're on the overhook side, so again, he was like, we're falling this way, I was circling. So the important thing when you're drilling this and when we do our positionals is when the guy gives you one or the other, the most important thing you're trying to do is essentially do like a matching situation. If he's over my shoulder, baseball bat. If he's under my shoulder, I'm stripping a leg first. That's the most important thing to learn, is which escape applies to which scenario. And in the classes or in your own sparring in your own time, just do a positional. The guy will be on your back for 2.5 minutes. He'll tilt you to one side or the other, go about 30, 40, 50% while you try and execute your escape. And make sure you always keep escaping to a half guard or mount position, and ask your partner to try and come to mount. A lot of guys, when you're drilling this for the first time, you'll put your back on the mat, they won't react. Have them start to try and put their knee on the mat, and come to mount, because that's what a guy will do in a more realistic training session, so you'll build a better muscle memory. So that's the end of our groundwork for the course. In the next videos, we're going to do some basic takedowns, hand fighting, head positioning, changing levels, and then we'll show some nice basic takedowns over the next few series of videos. So thank you for watching, thank you, Randy. Good stuff.